So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me at this, let's say, problematic time after lunch. I'm René Nicolodi from Swisscanto Invest, and I'm going to talk to you for the next roughly 10 minutes, I hope, and not more, about sustainable investing and looking beyond the basics. It's two parts. One part, a few key messages about, let's say, misconceptions all around sustainable investing. A topic that is, let's say, one of the mega trends on the markets right now, and I want to address a few points with a few pictures on that topic. Then, obviously, move to the part of climate change, climate impact, which is one of the topics that will be with us for the next few decades, and give a hint on the next program that we at Swisscanto are launching soon with regard to a climate change private equity strategy. So let's jump in. Beyond ethics. So sustainable investment is often correlated or brought together with a lot of ethical dimensions, religious dimensions, comes from history, and that's basically true. I would argue today we need to look beyond ethics. It's about fiduciary duty. As investor, from an investor perspective, we need to think about where we want to allocate capital, what is the responsibility of large investors, large asset managers, large pension funds, large insurance companies, and think about where we want to allocate money in order to provide a positive risk return for our investors, and B, obviously have a positive effect on society, environment, and other, let's say, ESG aspects. So look beyond ethics and focus on fiduciary duty as asset managers. B, it's beyond compliance. I work in a bank, Zachary, so there are probably more compliance people and legal people than people doing things with clients and investing. That's okay, we're used to it, but focus beyond compliance with regard to sustainability and ESG issues, and look at what is consistency. Consistency in using data, environmental, social, and governance data, and how this data is integrated, applied within investment processes. That's the key focus. There we can have an effect on selecting good business cases, investment cases, allocating capital, allocating money, and have an impact at the end of the day. C, beyond ratings. There's an interesting paper by the University of Zurich. It's called Aggregated Confusion, because there are dozens of independent ESG ratings, and they totally diverge with regard to the let's say, quality and quantity of measures they're looking at, and therefore for the same company you can have a widely diverse rating methodology and output. That per se is not a problem. At the same time, as an asset manager, as an investor, and I think also as a company, do not focus too much on what is your ESG rating, focus on the materiality. What kind of environmental, social, and governance metrics are really important for your specific business case, for your specific investment process, for your specific company, and try to find out how to change these special metrics or KPIs. Greenwashing. So the topic of the day, at least in Switzerland, as much as I can feel it, is it's all about greenwashing. We almost talk more about greenwashing than about sustainability and sustainable investments. That's okay, because it's a risk when something becomes a trend, something becomes used in an inflationary way, such as the term sustainability and sustainable investments. Obviously, greenwashing becomes a problem. So yes, look at it, but at the end of the day, we need to find out how to allocate capital in a good way for investors and companies in order to have an effect. That's much more important than think too much about greenwashing. Every small step in the right direction is a good step with regard to sustainability and long-term development. Well, from an investor perspective, beyond performance, no. Point. Stop. There's no beyond performance. At the end of the day, as a fiduciary investor, managing in a responsible way money for different institutions, performance, risks, and returns are the essence. Okay? And we need to achieve that in a way to have a positive, let's say, impact or effect on different sustainability metrics, but performance is at the heart of it. Otherwise, we would do philanthropy, and that's not what we are paid for as asset managers and investors. Okay. So, at the end, what is sustainable investment all about? Well, I think, from a personal perspective, it's all about combining the short term with the long term. Something which is actually really difficult to do, because markets function very short term. So you have daily noise, daily movements, you have unexpected events that drive the prices of business cases, of markets, of shares. And at the same time, particularly when looking at sustainability matters, such as climate change, we're thinking very long term. We're thinking in decades. Okay? Sustainable investing is trying to future-proof investment art or investment processes in order to balance short-term interests of markets with the long-term interests of society overall. Okay? For me, that's the essence of sustainable investing. Said that, greening the economy with impact, the role of private equity. So this is a private equity conference, and I really believe that private equity in itself as an asset class, as a let's say, area of investments is essential, is key to have an impact and have a positive impact with regard to a variety of sustainability topics. One, and I would say it's one of the top list, is climate change. You all know this graph or chart. Roughly around 1900, we have 2 gigatons of CO2 emissions emitted globally. Now we are roughly at 40 gigatons emitted by the end of 2020. That's a 20-fold increase. Okay, by 2050, we need to go to zero. Okay, so over 120 years, we increased 20-fold. Over the next roughly 30 years, we need to go to zero. That's the issue, that's the challenge that we have as a society, as the economy, as politicians, as members of institutions, investors, and so on. Okay, now, it's a daunting path. It's not an easy task. It's a huge challenge. That's a chart, and you don't need to read the details. Basically, it's an excellent snagit from a rather long report by the International Energy Agency. It shows you 2 things. One thing on your, let me check, left-hand side, the measures, the technologies you need to adapt over time in order to achieve a net zero scenario affect a wide range of different industries. So we go from the building sector, transport sector, industry sector, electricity, heat, a large variety of technologies that need, or industries that need to adapt themselves in order to change, disrupt, adapt, and bring a positive impact with regard to decarbonization of the whole economy and society. That is not done in an easy and fast way. What is also needed is finance and capital. Okay? States are not able to finance that by themselves. Debt ceilings are too high, capital is rather scarce, and so on. So the private markets are essential, are key. Innovation is key. And what you see on your right-hand side is basically the money that is needed. So we are talking about trillions. The thing that you also see is it's back-end loaded. Okay? So the increase of capital needed increases in the period from 2030 to 2040, from 2040 to 2050. You will need more and more money to change energy infrastructure, mobility systems, and so on. So capital markets, technology, companies, innovation need to work together in order to achieve the change in a very, very short period of time. Okay? Good. We've thought about that for quite a while now at Swisscanto, and we think we can contribute with a, let's say, new strategy, which is dedicated, fully dedicated on the decarbonization topic itself. So we're trying to, we will establish a strategy by Q1 2022 that is worldwide diversified and is dedicated and focused on decarbonization. It focuses on 50% on direct investments across industries with business cases dedicated to the decarbonization of the economy or mitigation of CO2 emissions. These are the 2 main criteria for the selection of companies. 50% of the portfolio will be invested in funds on a global side that also have the same, or at large have the same target that we have as an overall strategy. And obviously, we need to achieve the necessary IRRs for our investors to be also an attractive investment. Fund size, 250 million, roughly 15 direct investments, 12 fund-of-fund investments. From a, let's say, focus investment or industry focus perspective, one, we focus on certain trends. It's about renewable energies, it's about electrification, digitalization, electrification of the economy at all. And on the horizontal way, we focus on the old traditional, let's say, industries and sectors. So it's about transport, buildings, industry, agriculture, basically the industries and sectors that emit the most CO2 today. Okay. These will need to change the most. These will need the most capital and most innovation in order to be able to transform themselves over time. There we want to identify attractive innovation, technologies, young companies that help us to get there over time. I'm 1 minute over time. That's the last slide. Sustainability is a very complex topic. It's been here for a while. It will be here for another while. And while I think decarbonization, climate change is one of the most pressing, urgent, and most important issues by itself, sustainability is much more. So my final focus here is avoid the tunnel focus on carbon emissions only, obviously, but still it's one of the issues that we need to tackle. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have questions, please join me afterwards. Thank you.